Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're back at it again with another NOM Studios podcast. We have Derek Shannon with us, and the name of your company is
MR Qualified.
MR Qualified. Can you bring that a little closer?
All
No,
right.
you can bring it back towards you. You can stay back, but yeah.
Got it. All right.
MR Qualified. And what do you guys do with MR Qualified?
We do private real estate lending.
Okay.
So basically, if a real estate investor has a project they want to finance, and for whatever reason, either time frame or just scenario of the deal. I mean, banks and traditional financing sources are taking longer these days, and or not approving deals, and are kind of in a risk-off position. So we kind of come in to fill the gap when someone needs financing for a real estate project that's fast and flexible. Yeah. And when I say fast, it's we've funded deals in as little as 3 business days,
Wow.
which is almost unheard of in the real estate industry. So we can move quickly just as long as title is in order, and borrower and the parties are cooperative. We can move as fast as anyone.
Okay, and what makes it that you're able to move that fast compared to larger lenders like banks and everything?
So my business partner, Matt Rodrigue, and I, he's the MR and MR Qualified.
Okay.
We're funding the loans with our own funds.
Okay.
So we don't have a credit committee or check boxes. Just so long as he and I understand the deal and can mitigate any risks involved, then we're gonna be able to push forward.
And how do you mitigate those risks? I feel like funding it through your own funds is pretty risque.
Yeah.
If you're not like a JP Morgan with like trillions in assets.
Right. Both. I mean, particularly Matt had a pretty significant career on Wall Street. I was in asset-based lending, more kind of more commercial versus investment banking, but primarily in asset-based lending. But we have a decent capital reserve, and we're both real estate investors, and understand how to underwrite risk, and then secure ourselves primarily through mortgages and guarantees and things of that nature, whether it's corporate or personal. I would say 99% of our deals are going to have a personal guarantee of the principal that's doing the project. We kind of, I wouldn't want to say it's a risk-free endeavor, but we make it as risk-free as possible. Okay. And, we've been, Matt did his first loan in 2020, I want to say. Okay.
Right when things are getting hot.
Yeah. And that's a great story. And actually, I don't know if this is the right time to do this. You're the producer, but so there's a really great podcast that we did a few months back. It's called the Lender's Playbook Podcast, and we kind of do the whole origin story thing. So I don't want to do the same thing again. Yeah. But so that it's called the the Lender's Playbook Podcast, which is the CEO of the American Lending Conference's podcast. His name's Matt Rosen, great guy, and I'm actually attending that conference this week in Vegas. Okay, awesome. The American Lending Conference. This will be my second time attending. Okay, and looking forward to it.
Are you going with? I know you do a lot of work with Asher.
Yes.
Is he going to be at that as well? Or is that kind of 2 different things?
I think he's actually,
I think in Florida.
Yeah, he was in Florida just recently. I know he's a super busy guy as well. I'm not sure he's going to attend this one, but brokers, private real estate lenders, and of course the service providers are great. They're all at these conferences. Just on the conferences generally, there's just so many of them, man. Yeah. If I wanted to, I could literally go to one every week. Yeah. And it would just be a crazy life. So, we try to pick our spots.
So what is your goal when you go to these conferences? I feel like, usually conferences are good for CPG products where you're actually trying to sell things. Is your goal to learn more, to connect, to network? What is your goal when you usually go to these conferences?
I'm going to say all of the above. The private hard money, whatever you want, non-bank, let's call it, real estate lending industry is huge. There are huge pipes of money that institutions need to deploy. and real estate is a great asset. And kind of maybe I should rewind back to when we were talking before. How do I make what we do risk free? I mean, we are putting our own money out. We're 100% equity funded to date. Just the reason it's attractive to those large pipes of money is, you can secure yourself with a mortgage, and there's well-defined laws and, things of that nature that you can get comfortable with. So, even in the event that a deal goes sideways, just so long as you underwrote the deal effectively, from a value perspective and things of that nature, you should still be able to, recover your funds.
So you talk to me as someone, I'm saying as someone, but I really don't know, like, your side of the business. Is it more on the residential commercial side? Can someone like me who's just like, all right, I'm ready to buy a house, I have some cash reserves set up for a down payment, am I right by saying, like, I could go to Chase, HSBC, or I could go to MR Qualified? Like,
so, and if I'm repeating myself, like the banks, for a variety of reasons, are risk off. So if you want to buy a property with any sort of renovation component, you're going to buy it, and maybe your cash reserves are good for down payment and maybe closing costs, but you got to put whatever percentage of the acquisition value, or sometimes even more than the acquisition value, to complete your project, with your vision. But the banks really aren't touching that. They don't have the capital available, unless you already have an established relationship. And even non-bank, finance partners, they have check boxes. You have to have, one checkbox is that you have to have a project in that market in the past 6 months. And that's just one of the checkboxes. There's a lot of checkboxes. So, how does someone get a start outside of having a giant, a rich uncle or a giant pile of cash somewhere to do it? It's financial providers like us, MR Qualified, we can step in and fill that gap. And, we've done it successfully now for, going on 5 years, if not a little more.
So what are your favorite projects? Like, what's your favorite thing to
Oh, I guess I didn't answer that before, right?
Yeah.
So basically, we are property type agnostic, just because it's our money. We can do whatever we want, right? And we have experience in a wide variety of property types. But just from a size perspective, there is a limit to our capital resources, right? So we tend to have a sweet spot somewhere between 100,000 and $1 million. That being said, actually last week we just closed our largest deal to date. It's a project in Kerhonkson, New York, that I actually worked with Asher on.
Okay, awesome.
That was our first deal we did together.
Yeah.
Dark Horse Capital.
We do their marketing.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, largest deal of the day. That was $1.5 million.
Okay.
It was a little bit. Some transactions, take longer than you want them to, and this one was no exception. So we got it done. It was exciting. Happy to work with Asher, of course, and the principals in that one. They're actually brothers, and they were able to. Develop a pretty impressive real estate portfolio, and I think they're like 29 or 31.
Wow.
We were able to,
properties, or million.
That's how old they are.
Oh, 29 and 31.
Yeah. But
I'm in the wrong business.
It's a substantive real estate portfolio.
Okay.
Just guys getting out there and getting after it.
Yeah.
Obviously they probably had some kind of resource to get started in that business. That's kind of what you got to do. Find the right partners and, work well with them. And I guess a PSA maybe, like, for anyone that's, looking at real estate and doing any kind of finance, if someone has lent you money, they get really, skittish and upset when you don't communicate with them. We've been involved in a number of projects where, for one reason or the other, and we don't like this, and it doesn't happen. I would say rarely, where maybe an interest payment was missed, or maybe they went over on a reno budget, or the city inspector came in and said, well, in this residential building that wouldn't typically require it, I'm going to require you to have a full sprinkler system, which delays the project. He needs more money, things of that nature. And, if you're dealing with a more traditional financing source, whether it's bank or non-bank or it's just larger,
very
you're going to call your loan officer, who's then going to have to bring it to credit committee. And then maybe they don't like this and they're going to have to call in the loan. Maybe this is a default for some reason, right? Whereas with a company like us, MR Qualified, you're going to pick up the phone, you're going to talk to Derek or Matt, and you're going to have an answer, if not on the phone, within 24 hours.
Okay.
And, we want our borrowers to succeed. We don't have a workouts department.
So is that what you kind of take into account when you say you have 0 credit losses in the 5 years you've been around? Like,
correct.
That's pretty impressive. That's not just luck.
Yep. Yeah. We're well over 100 loans now. We've taken borrowers from their first, second, third, fourth project. Now we're on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. As we give them the capital, to grow, then that just grows our pool of equity that we can lend against, right? And secure ourselves further. And then, as that grows, their portfolio grows and we do more business.
So you're not breaking anybody's kneecaps to get your money back?
Not unless you make me.
I feel like your mustache is the perfect for that. Like, where's my money?
There are a lot of steps. No, we wouldn't do that. But
so tell me your background. Like, what made you get into? Obviously you started in finance and now you're in private lending. But like, where did Derek start? Where did Derek grow up?
Okay,
what got you into this spot? College, working, tell me about that.
All right. Well, where did I start? Well, I grew up on Long Island.
Okay.
I'm a Long Island guy.
Okay. Where in Long Island?
Smithtown.
Okay.
And my grandparents lived in Manhasset.
Okay.
So, kind of spread
between Suffolk and Nassau.
Suffolk, Nassau. Both my brother Keith and I, we were kind of Catholic school kids. So I lived in Smithtown. I went to school down at St. John the Baptist in West Islip, which was a coin flip because they were equidistant from my house to St. Anthony's where my brother went. So yeah, did that. Just in terms of, how do I end up, being a partner in a private real estate lending firm? My grandfather was an entrepreneur in the garment manufacturing world. He actually passed last year.
Condolences.
But huge impact of on my life. Kind of just wanted to be him. Actually, and I'll kind of bounce around here a little bit, but going into college, I thought, or coming out of college, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to go work for Grandpa. And for a variety of reasons, pretty soon after I was getting out of college, or as I was getting out of college, he ended up selling the business. So there goes Derek's plan.
I gotta pivot.
Yep. But I coming out of school, ended up worked for New York Life for a little while, and then. Again, the plan really was for me to go work for the family business, right? So I had interned. I always was, going to warehouses and factories, and Grandpa was always traveling, and I heard all about this stuff. My grandpa had actually had factories and an office in Poland that he had sent my brother and I to. He had his guy in Poland, Mark, and he had been almost part of the family for 30 years. And we stayed with his family, took us around there for
awesome.
2 or 3 weeks. But so definitely came from an entrepreneurial family, and I could talk for a long time about him. But my grandfather and all of his accolades and things that he did in the garment manufacturing, and he, one thing I will say, one of the things he said is I was a garment, I made ladies' coats and anything else I could get my fingers on, we would try to manufacture. And, they got into the cheese business. They were making, at one point they had a factory farm operation. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but they were making these giant turkeys. I forget. I think that was in Poland maybe. But he obviously had, the resources and the drive and the knowledge, because once you're manufacturing something, you have inputs, you have to put them together, you have to pay customs, you have to get it someplace else. So, I mean,
so it's like it's
if
easy
you
to
can,
kind of,
if you can get all piece goods for a fur-lined lady's coat,
you could probably do it for anything
you
else.
can probably do it for anything else. Yeah. So, obviously had those contacts and resources. And again, awesome guy, huge influence in my life. But again, I can go everywhere. I can go off on tangents here. But
and then from there, after college.
After college, New York Live, had to do something. And that was a great experience, just kind of getting into that, you have to go out and talk to people. And learn something and, convey your knowledge. So, I would say that's definitely something that kind of drove me in a business development sales kind of direction. But that took some time to develop because, so I'd interned at my grandfather's company and worked with his CFO, who became a mentor to me, obviously. And, after I was doing New York Life for maybe a year, maybe a little less, he called me, and after the business was sold, obviously he had to go find something else to do because he was the CFO and obviously had a growing family and things of that nature. So he had gotten a job at a asset-based factoring and asset-based lending firm called Capstone, and he said, we're growing this and that, and I need your help. And I said, really? That sounds interesting. Let's go do it. And so that kind of launched me into the finance space, and then kind of went from there.
It's kind of funny how like people's stories are, because I feel like I sit here and I talk to a whole bunch of people, and it's more often than not people fall into things. It's not exactly what you
envisioned at all.
Like went to college for, study for, unless you're a lawyer. Or unless you're a doctor. I feel like those are like the two.
Maybe accounting.
Not even.
Yeah.
Not even. I feel like I know a lot of accountants now who are just like, I was singing on Broadway, and then one day I was like, this is not enough money. So I went to my dad's business, and now I'm an accountant.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I say that, I don't know if how many, aspiring high school or, children aged people or whatever, young professional aged people, when they're making choices about college and things of that nature. One thing I always say is like, make sure you come out with like some piece of paper that someone will pay you for, whether it's an engineering degree or an accounting degree, finance, lawyer, kind of like you said, or a nursing certificate. If that's, if you have that kind of, but like have something.
Exactly.
Have something, a piece of paper that you can have.
But finance and lending, I felt like that's a great thing to fall into.
Well, that's I guess kind of.
Are you always a numbers guy? I feel like
no. Well, I mean, I guess I had to have some grasp of the numbers, but definitely had to damage some brain cells to get there. I was a pretty decent student, coming into, roll into high school, and then it kind of started getting harder, and then college got harder. You just kind of have to have a mind for, where are you trying to get? Referring back to my grandpa, he always used to say, again, for one of the more accomplished men I ever knew in my life, would always call himself like not smart and a dummy. But he said, whenever you're dealing with numbers, you have to smell the number. What are you trying to accomplish with that number? And then, that's the way I try to think about, real estate deals. And when I'm underwriting a deal, what am I trying to do here?
Yeah, go into deeper into like, what are you trying to smell and accomplish? I want to get deeper into that.
Okay. Well, so, I mean, the easiest thing I could put in context with is a private real estate loan, right? So he's trying to either renovate or acquire a building, and then you look into all the factors that goes into that, and you say, well, if this factor mitigates this factor, and then you offset it, and then we're gonna have the mortgage, and we're confident in our legal documents, so we're gonna hopefully be secured. We're not gonna screw up on the valuation, because that's obviously a critical piece. But so if I can structure something effectively with what I want to do, then I use the numbers or the numbers flow from that. It's not the other way around. So just as long as you have a framework for understanding what you're trying to do, that's always been a kind of a keystone to me for how numbers are going to work. I mean, because am I the biggest Excel monkey? mean, I try not to be anymore, but you know, it's time consuming. I mean, that's you know, it's a whole skill in and of itself.
Now, do you have a team, you and your partner, or is it just you and your partner?
It's so we have so obviously trying to keep it lean.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a controller, and we have a few assistants. So we're trying to, like, you know,
Just keep it really tight.
keep it lean. You know, obviously, any entrepreneur or, you know, small business owner will know. I mean, once you have a person that's depending on you, you have to be there for that person. And, you know, sometimes, you know, numbers aren't going to be the same this month, and, you know, that becomes, you know, something that could you know, impact what we're trying to do. You know, over the longer term. So we like to be you know, super thoughtful. You know, with the, you know, deployment of resources.
So are you in that camp of, like, since you're very into lending, are you in that camp of, like, more restriction, less restrictions? What's a pain in the ass? What's, like, easy flowing for you? Like,
How do I say this?
how do I say this carefully?
This is going to go in public. Anyone can watch this. You know, in regulated spaces, it becomes more and more difficult. I mean, I'm not saying anything, you know, someone doesn't know. And, you know, when you talk about deployment of funds and what the intent of a regulation is and how it gets transferred through all of the, you know, all of the levels, you know, whoever supported this law, they have an intent. And there's a long process from that intent to what I, as a business owner, or whoever the person is actually going to be impacted as, you know, happens. And I think there's a lot to be said for not over-regulating. I guess I'm the prototypical private real estate lender. How do I have less regulation? But, I've worked in highly regulated environments, and I've worked in less to no regulation environments, and I tell you, I certainly know which ones I prefer.
Okay. That's all you need to say. When did you start growing your mustache?
COVID.
Okay. So, what made you, like, say, like, I want a Monopoly Man mustache? Which, have you ever, like, decided to dress up as a Monopoly Man for Halloween?
That's a good idea. I might do that, actually. That's actually perfect. Or I could definitely, I should get a monocle for my, well, we could go into what I was about to say later. But yeah, so, you know, COVID was I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't know, but COVID was a strange time. Actually, I moved with my family for probably 3 months, 5 months? In that March, you know, 2020, when the world shut down period, I, you know, moved my family to the Catskills. And wasn't shaving much. And I had never had facial hair before. I knew what I already knew, which is I couldn't really grow facial hair, but and I had previously, when I was, I don't know, maybe high school or college, just like, you know, I want a mustache, or I want to see what I could grow, and I did it, and nothing grew. It was disgusting. And I was just happened to, because I was working a lot. I was still in asset-based lending. It was actually called Entrepreneurial Growth Capital. Shout out to Dean Landis and Maria Espinel. I don't know if that's allowed to do. I don't know. It's only my second podcast. So
shout them out to that's right there.
But yeah, it's I mean, it's in the name. It's an entrepreneurial asset-based lending firm. It's third generation company, and you know, it was, you know, great experience working there. Where are we going with that? Sorry.
Your mustache, and then you grew it.
Mustache. So you know, obviously, time of, you know, tumult, you know, and uncertainty. And, you know, how do people qualify for PP? So I was basically working a lot. And I probably just didn't shave for a couple days, and I'm like,
look, it's actually growing now.
Yeah, I don't have to shave. It's fine. And then just kind of went from there. And I actually, you know, I haven't. I mean, maybe I trimmed it once or twice. And then I read something, maybe a Ron Swanson quote or something, like you don't trim your mustache, and I just haven't.
That's awesome.
And you know, found a wax that could handle that.
We were just talking about that, the bearded bastard.
Now the bearded brotherhood.
I feel like I have some of do they do like beard oils and everything as well?
I feel
like I have some of their stuff? Because that sounds very, 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 very.
Anyone's
familiar.
interested, that's what it looks like.
Okay.
But yeah, hard to find. And then I was telling you, like, they changed the name a couple months ago, and I couldn't find it. I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? Oh, am I going to have to cut this thing off now?
Yeah.
But it's definitely kind of become a part of the brand.
Now back to like your lending company. Was there ever a time when you're just like, shit, why did I get into this? Like, things are like tough, things are hard.
Not yet. And I guess we should touch a little bit on, I guess, the MR qualified origin story. So, I had met Matt in Windham, New York.
Okay.
We were both operating short-term rentals and things, and ended up having to get involved in the community to make sure, the right things happened for the community.
Yeah.
And there's more of a story, but I could talk about all of these things for a long time. So, but anyways, met Matt right about the time he was, we had worked on a project together and had, similar interests: skiing, finance, real estate. So yeah, definitely hit it off, and made sense to form a partnership, and here we are. And definitely a good friend, and that's something I've always really, it's always good to work with, people you like and share interest with.
Exactly.
And I haven't had one of those days where it's like, why am I doing this yet?
Yeah. I mean, that's good. That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, it's been probably 2 years officially. Is it coming on 2 years? Something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's exciting.
So what's next for MR Qualified? Is it like growing to a point where you said your sweet spot is 100,000 to $1 million? Has it always been 100,000 to $1 million? Has it grown to that? Like how do you guys grow? How do you guys plan for the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Well, there's, it all comes down to what do we want to do? How much do we want to grow this thing? I think we're certainly in a growth mindset. We're doing it effectively. We're helping real estate entrepreneurs grow, which is what we're trying to do. It's lucrative enough, certainly, to do it. But 3 to 5 years, I would like to, so we've doubled our loan volume every year.
Okay, that's awesome.
So if we can just keep doing that, that's what I'd like to do. And that'll require probably a number of different steps. Something we're at various times of the business. Because any small business owner or entrepreneur knows, like, you're in the, oh my God, I have to find business, and now I have to go finance the business. And sometimes
I have to find help,
and then everyone has on some level a limited bandwidth, right? So it's like, what do you have the bandwidth to pursue, deals or financing, or how are you going to do that? And obviously, how you delegate your bandwidth is the key to success. One of certainly whether it's additional, raising additional investment capital, or more of the leverage route, which is definitely something we're going to pursue. We're going to continue to grow our capital network and grow our personal and business network, and doing things like this, or going to conferences, joining the LIE last year. Those are all things that we're going to do to continue to grow and grow the network, because I think that's definitely a key part of business.
Awesome. And in that is your love for skiing.
Yes.
I know I was supposed to go with you guys that time, but I had like a big meeting that day.
Yeah, it happens. And we're gonna do it again for sure. No, we had the first LIE network ski networking event up in Windham, New York.
Well, I think we're trying to plan like a fishing trip.
I would do that too. I love fishing.
Yeah, I think we're trying to plan a fishing trip on the North Shore somewhere.
So who's got the biggest boat?
I think we're just gonna do a charter. I don't think there's a couple of us like I have a boat. There's a couple of people in the LA that have a boat, which I'm sure like if it was just like 2-3 people, but I think if we get enough people, we're gonna try to do like a charter.
Oh, a little ski race connection or skiing connection. One of my fellow coaches at Windham in the All Mountain program. James, great skier. He works on one of the charter boats. Maybe that's a connection I can make.
Yeah, that'd be a good connection with I forgot who usually puts together the events. But yeah, summer's around the corner, man. It's crazy.
Just got done with ski season, or I'm gonna try to get a couple more trips in. But
do you usually go upstate? Do you go out west or anything? Do you
travel? Both my kids are in the ski race program at Windham Mountain.
Okay.
So are Matt's kids as well, actually, and that was a big.
How old are your kids?
Gwyneth is 10, and Roddy is 8.
Okay, so same as my kids.
Oh, really?
Mackenzie just turned 10 last week.
Okay.
And Aurelia is going to be 8 in June.
Nice.
Yeah. How long they been in the program?
So this must be This is Roddy's second year, and that would make it Gwen's third year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're up there a lot. You're up in Wyndham
every
a
weekend.
lot. Every weekend.
Yep.
Okay.
Every weekend.
That is a drive.
Yep. And then something that happens with ski racing. My daughter. My daughter's a great skier. Yeah. I mean, ski racing is a super intense competitive thing.
Yeah.
I think she just wants to ski and have fun, which is why she kind of transitioned to the all mountain program this year. Roddy has a desire to win in anything he does. So he's going to have more of the race mentality. He came away from some of the races this week. He had 3 silvers.
Okay. That's
so
awesome. Super competitive.
Yeah, and he was always in the top 4. I mean, I think he got a 9th once, but always towards the top. So he's definitely into that. Something I'm thrilled that he loves it and wants to do that. But that'll definitely that'll be even more travel down the road if he ends up pursuing or wants to go keep racing.
Absolutely.
Which, again, I'm down for.
So before we get out of here, tell us what your ideal client profile is. If you could, in the perfect world, if you could have a client right now, who would they be? What would they look like? Who do you want to contact you?
Anyone doing investment real estate. Whether you have, experience is a plus.
Mm-hmm.
You have a track record, and hopefully those real estate projects were successful, and you've developed some cash reserved or a net worth or asset profile that makes sense. Again, it could be first time or experienced. With first time, we're again going to want to see a professional person that again has developed, has a decent, okay credit profile and some mitigating circumstance or whatever the case is, and it's a decent real estate project that we can wrap our head around.
Okay.
And then not just that, not even from just a straight deal flow perspective, or also related to deal flow also, but centers of influence, whether it's accountants, lawyers, who we're going to see or know about a real estate transaction and or a situation that would require funds like ours.
Okay. And where can everybody find you? How can they get in touch with you?
My cell phone's always in my pocket. Email Derek at mrqualified.com. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, m.r.qualified. And I guess we'll link to that and things of that nature. Website, mrqualified.com. So those are definitely the main avenues to get a hold of us. We'll have, our content there is, deal updates, kind of, maybe some underwriting tips or deal tips, real estate market updates. I'd imagine, when we go to a conference, obviously we use that.
And how far do you guys go? Do you guys just do Long Island, the tri-state area? Do you go anywhere in the U.S.?
We can go anywhere in the U.S.
Okay.
We have that flexibility. I mean, certain jurisdictions, California has a pretty heavy regulatory regime, as well as Vermont. And Vermont, there's,
Oh, that sucks. Vermont is beautiful.
It is. It is. And then there are a couple other states that we would have to, kind of really think about going into. But I would say outside of those two, maybe there's 2 more. So, a lot of our portfolio is concentrated in the Northeast because we've grown our business kind of through our networks and word of mouth, and that's where our networks kind of are. But that being said, we've done deals in Florida. We've looked at Chicago, Texas. I mean, if there's a deal and it makes sense, we can
so 46 out of 50 states.
That's pretty good.
All right. Well, thanks, Derek. I appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks.